All right, welcome back to another Manufacturing Alliance podcast. This is Chat and Chow, and as always, I am your host, Tony DeMakis. And I work for Alliance Specialties in Laser Sales, and this is just our opportunity to talk with you and share all things that we have to do with the mold finishing industry. So, oops, man, this happens every time. Got all these posts talking to me right now. I warned you, Dustin. I warned you that this was going to happen, and
This always happens.
we'll get back there in 1 second. So bear with me for a hot second, everybody. That's the one. All right. So I'm going to start again. I'm Tony with Alliance Specialties in Laser Sales, and this is the Manufacturing Alliance podcast, the Chat and Chow edition, which just means we do it at lunchtime. And why do we do it? We do this because we know that during the craziness of COVID and everything else that people have felt a little bit disconnected. And so we thought, let's have lunch together. Let's eat, let's talk, let's discuss the things that are bothering us or causing us some grief, and bring in other people to have that conversation with. So at Alliance, we are mold makers that don't build molds. And if that doesn't make sense to you, all that means is we do all the things that mold makers don't want to do. We're the hub. So we do mold finishing and repair on all sorts of plastic injection projects, anything from polishing, mold finishing, laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner manifold cleaning, and preventative mold maintenance. We also have the only laser welding and laser engraving systems that are made, built, engineered, and sold here in the United States. And we'd love to talk to you about any of those things that you need. But this is not about me and what our business does. This is about you guys and what you want to hear about. And one of the things that I know is that sales is very difficult right now. It's a whole new animal that it's ever been before. And so I wanted to bring in an expert and somebody that really knows what they're talking about because it's what their company is most experienced in. And so I went with the best of the best, and I contacted the people at Dale Carnegie, and I brought in my friend Dustin Brewer, who is out of the Chicago office, the Chicago and Northern Indiana, I believe, and he's a performance consultant. So Dustin, welcome to the show. Come on in. If you want to unmute yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. You really set me up there with that glowing intro. And I will point out, I see your manual back there for our flagship sales program. So I'm Dustin Brewer. I work with Dale Carnegie of Chicago and Northwest Indiana, and here we work with all kinds of industries. We work with the manufacturing industry. We work with some of the largest manufacturers in Chicagoland, as well as countless small operations and everything in between. We work in healthcare, automotive, engineering, construction, architecture, government, professional services, you name it. And bottom line, we help businesses on the people side of the business. So whether that is leadership, whether that's sales, whether it's communication, public speaking, emotional intelligence, culture, bottom line, we help elevate the people of organizations in order to elevate the entire organization. So happy to be here. I will see if I bring any revolutionary ideas. I think, what I see going on is a lot of change, and change is exhausting. And salespeople are, although we might not have to do entirely new things all the time, it is good to get, some wind in your sails, sharpen your axe. And at the very least, if we can do that today, I'm happy. So thanks, Tony, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And in all fairness, I have taken Dale Carnegie class. I loved everything that we learned in there. And we took the class the beginning of COVID. It just happened to be that time. We didn't schedule it for COVID. It just worked out to be that way. And it was a great experience for me and the team. So we brought, I think, 5 people to that class, and we learned a lot of stuff, and we'll go over some of that. But for anybody that's watching right now, watching live on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, do me a favor and take advantage of the chat, right? We want to be engaging with you. We want to know what you want to know, and we want to help out in any way that we can. That's the purpose of this. So we've got some things to talk about, but we also want to talk about what you want to talk about. So put it in the chat what you're looking to do. Put your name, put your company, throw a comment or a question in there. And for the first time ever, we have some prizes that we're giving away for good questions and participation. So the more you participate, the better chance you have of winning. And it's some good stuff. So, Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit background on Dale Carnegie? I mean, I'm sure there's like 3 people that don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, so Dale Carnegie is a person, and I often get compared to his likeness. I think it's my name starts with D and his as well, but I assure you, I am not Dale, and he is no longer with us. But Dale Carnegie has a great legacy, and it began without sharing the whole story. The real work began in New York City. When he kind of noticed that the most common fear among business people was public speaking. So he ran kind of a live workshop on public speaking where business people came to attend. And it started off, as you would expect, in a way, kind of a lecture thing, and eventually became this thing where people would get up and stretch their comfort zone and do it themselves. And that's really been our approach ever since then. It's more about doing and trying new things than it is about, getting the magic bullet. It's more about stretching our comfort zone, growing our own self-confidence, than it is about, waving a magic wand. So that's where it began. And the work really centered around how people tick. Dale Carnegie and his team studied some of the greatest leaders throughout all of history. Dale Carnegie is one of the preeminent Lincoln scholars. He's got a great book on Lincoln called Lincoln the Unknown, and took away a lot of principles on how leaders operate, particularly in their relationships, how they speak towards people, how they gain influence, and based his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, off of studying those leaders and decades of working with business leaders in New York City. And those are the same principles that we operate on today. If you had to boil it down, it's really about making other people feel important, putting others before yourself in your business interactions and the way that you lead, and doing it genuinely. And that's when you gain influence. That's when you gain trust. So that's a little bit about us.
I think what you just said it sums it up in one thing, and it's putting the needs of other people before your own, which is just principles that have been around forever, right? I wouldn't say it's a faith-based show, but I am a believer. I believe that you are a believer. And that's one of the things that really struck me with the Dale Carnegie class versus some of the other things is it's a foundational principle of taking care of the we and not the me, right? And you and I talked about that a little bit before, that I think a mistake that a lot of salespeople make is they have their agenda that they want to get to, and they want to cover all their bullet points, and they're not really interested in solving a problem of their customer.
Yeah.
They're interested in solving their problem, which is, I need to move this piece of equipment or this service or this whatever. And they're not really engaged or communicating properly or listening to the person on the other end of the conversation. It's generally one-sided, and it's me. I know what I need out of this. I'm not concerned with what you need.
Yeah. And that's more important than ever right now, because people tend to look out for their own needs when they're hurting, and when they're stressed, when they're experiencing change. And so, if there's ever a time to adopt an empathetic approach to sales, it's now.
Yep.
It's now.
Yep.
I've got, so I had this experience a couple of weeks ago. So I was calling on a high value prospect. He is a senior energy manager for a network of 42 manufacturing facilities.
Okay.
And so I was calling on him and, picked up the phone, essentially a cold call. And there, answered on the other side of the phone was the most challenging prospect I have ever, come in contact with. It was a babbling toddler. And I don't mean that in jest or, as a joke. Like literally his daughter picked up the phone. And I knew it because, I've got a 20-month-old of my own. And, I tried to, hey, is your dada there? Yeah, your dad. She repeats back, dada. Yeah, give the phone to your dad, and then click. She hangs up on me. That was, I had a good laugh about that. And then I decided, you know what? Let me try him again, 15, 20 minutes. And I did, I picked up the phone, called him again. And this guy picked up the phone. And we started that next conversation with a really good laugh, really good laugh and, connection. And, it's not something that I think any average person would get annoyed with necessarily, but it was an opportunity to connect with him in his terms. This guy is used to be flying. He's flying all around, his organization has, operations all over the US, and he's rarely home. Working. And now he is here stuck at home trying to accomplish the things through other teams at his manufacturing facilities that he'd normally be there for. So, to laugh that off with him and connect over that was, there's no better way that you can expect to start a conversation with a prospect. Right.
And I think COVID has shown up is that, not that professionalism is a bad thing, but there's some forgiveness and some grace there that maybe wasn't before, where, people have lives outside of work. And right now it's kind of blending and merging, and everybody understands and everybody gets it. It's not, it's not a big deal. You hear a kid in the background and it actually makes me smile because, that person is trying really hard right now. To balance work and home and doing all the other things. And I think right now there is a new level and a new point of forgiveness and understanding where it works, right? And people are all in the same boat. We got our first question from John Casbon. Hi, John, from Cas Molds. And he's an injection molding and mold making company. And he says how to get the best exposure without a budget. Yeah. Budget is always a key thing. It's a difficult thing right now because what we found as a company is, we don't want to dump a ton of money in trade shows. We used to advertise all the time. We had magazine ads, full page magazine ads, because we saw value in it and all of those sorts of things. And then when the world kind of went crazy, we pulled back our advertising and we stopped doing any sort of traditional advertising at all, as far as print ads or things like that. And we moved to what I would call a free resource, which is LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. All those things are easy touch points for customers. The other thing that we've started to really do is reach out to our customers and ask them how they're doing, what's happening, and what we can do, what they need right now. And maybe it's not something that we can supply, but at least they know that we care. What do you see right now?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and something that all of us are, budgets are in some cases more slim than ever. And, what I have seen our clients doing, if there's one word, is they're getting creative. Creativity is, and it's also the thing that we feel like we have the least of. Again, when there's stress, when there's change, we lose that headspace to be innovative and think differently. But what I am seeing, get the best response when you have little budget is being creative. If you have, one client we have, for example, they used to run the trade show circuit, and it did involve some budget, but it's things that they were able to pull on. What they did was they whittled down their prospecting list to the most high value targets, the people who are essentially the most ideal customers. And then they sent them packages of products that they thought they would appreciate, with like samples of products they thought they would appreciate, with handwritten notes specifically to them. And so that was, it did cost a little bit, and it did take effort and time. So not exposure on a grand scale, but in a way that it did make difference for them. But I would say bottom line is creativity right now.
And John, to go a little bit further, what do you mean by no budget, right? Because there's got to be a budget for something, because where your concern is where you put your money, right? And in simple terms, right? If you don't think that the resources are going to be well spent to try and get new customers, then that's kind of what it says about your desire to get new customers, right? What kind of effort are you willing to do or put in? There is no magic pill. There is no magic spell or simple solution to bring in more customers and more work. It's dedication, it's effort, and it's actually building that relationship and creating that trust. That was one of the things that we were going to talk about, is building trust and having empathy for people that we want to serve, right? For a lack of a better term. I think customer can sometimes be like a dirty word, because maybe it's like you're taking advantage of that person. I really genuinely want to know, how do we serve our customers better? How do we serve them in a way that is going to make a difference for them in a meaningful way, not just bring in a profit here or there?
Yeah, Tony, if I could,
Yeah, please.
To spin off of that, and I hope that we, adequately, expanded on your question, John. Yeah, please feel free to follow up with more context if we can speak to it more. But on that point, Tony, that whole thing of making sure that we serve them best, that is often in our best interest too. I'm not sure if you've ever had the case of trying to make a deal work when you just kind of knew that it wasn't going to work well, and it brought more of a headache than it did. Maybe you got a buck, maybe you got some revenue out of it, but you got a lot of extra that you didn't ask for too. So, looking for that win-win, that how does it help both of us succeed, is usually the best outcome for all parties.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Scott Peters is joining us on Facebook, and he says, ask the question, what kind of sales staff do you want or have? Do you want fries with your burger, or are they truly in it to solve problems? Yeah, exactly. And Scott's been in this game for a long time. He's got a lot of experience, and he's a valued person to me. He's got a lot of big ideas, and he's helped me a lot in my growth in the last 4 years. And he gets it,
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that we can look at, is making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people to learn from and to grow from.
Right. Yeah, I like that, Scott. It's not, do you want fries with that? It's how hungry are you?
Yeah.
Right.
I like that, because then you're asking the actual question that matters, the problem.
Right.
That's good. See how good he is, everybody? I mean, that's just a nugget of what you're going to get with Dale Carnegie.
Just like you said, Tony, I'm surrounded by great sales leaders around me. That's all I've got going for me.
Yeah, it's important. It's really, really important to surround yourself with those people. And I'll give another plug for Carnegie, right? When we were looking at sales classes and what we wanted to do with our team, I did a lot of a lot of deep dives on what plans were out there. I mean, there's a lot of other sales alternatives to Dale Carnegie. There are, Grant Cardone and X10 and all those different things. And what really struck me about Dale Carnegie, besides the fact that it's like the gold standard, is that it's based on listening and creating a relationship. And some of those other programs, I'm sure they're successful in an immediate way, where you can get a quick result, but it's not building a relationship. It's not listening and digging into what the customer actually needs, and going in a way that's going to be a long-term relationship. To me, some of those other strategies are like one time, done, and move on. They're not really concerned about how is this going to benefit us long term.
Thanks for that plug, Tony.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just honest, right? And
Yeah.
yes, there's strategies that go along with it, but at the root, it's all about making a connection and understanding what your customer actually really wants.
Yep.
And needs.
Yeah, I mean, the question you should ask yourself is, do you want one sale, or do you want repeat business? Right.
Yeah.
The relationship is what gives you repeat business. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you have some notes on how to run an engaging virtual meeting. That's something that we're all dealing with right now. So what would you say to people about virtual meetings?
Yeah, it's a hot topic. We're working with a lot of teams on this right now. And I think, salespeople are the ones who are really good at hacking things, figuring it out on our own. We're persistent, right? But we're seeing, more and more salespeople, sales teams kind of hit the wall and say, we've got to rethink, we've got to, take a step back. What's the best approach to this? And, the reality is that sales has not fundamentally changed, and virtual meetings are not fundamentally different than in-person meetings. There are adjustments to make, right? But it's real. There are some best practices that are shared. So so one of those things is your presence. How do people perceive you? That's not entirely different when you show up in person, when you visit a site, when you have an in-person meeting or lunch or whatever, than it is in a virtual meeting. The difference is that you have less time, right? Yep. Virtual meetings tend to start faster, but you want to make a good impression right out of the gate. There's been multiple studies that have come to the conclusion that it takes about 27 seconds for someone to have a fully formed perception of who you are. So, that's a short amount of time to come off on, to come off in the right way.
Yeah.
So some of the best practices when it comes to virtual meetings, how you show up. Number one starts with having, a clean environment. Tony, we're taking two very different approaches here.
Yeah.
But they both work, not to pat our backs, but, I've got clean and simple brand. You've got clean, and you've got a lot of personality, a lot of character. And what's great about your background is that there are things, I already noticed your manual. I wonder how that got there from the Dale Carnegie course. I see, some other things that I could call out and talk about that gives an opportunity for a connection. But the point is that you want it to be clean and simple. You want to show that you're professional, so that you make that good impression. So avoid clutter. If you're going to use a virtual background, use something that aligns with your company, with who you are. If you usually go to trade shows, feel free to use pop-up banner if it fits, if it looks nice, if it's not out of context, if it's going to make more visual noise, don't use it. But that's important. Have a clean environment, and lighting and camera position matter. I think for the most part, people have figured that out by this point. But have good lighting, have it cast. So, eliminate shadows, don't wash yourself out. You might have to hack it, invest in something. You're probably going to have to invest in something to have a good, strong virtual presence. And camera position matters. You want to get it as eye level as possible. There's, something that cinematographers and videographers have known for a long time that we haven't. And that's when you position yourself looking up to the camera, it kind of gives an impression that you think you're below. Whereas if you position yourself above the camera looking down, it gives, the other person the impression that you think you're above them. So eye level is the best way to go. Let me know if any questions are popping up, but there's
I will.
couple of other best practices here. Look at your camera.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's so hard to do. It's so hard to do because, all right, side note, whoever invents the the teleprompter style, here's your video right in front of your camera so I can, make eye contact and see. Whoever invents it first, they're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, because especially right now. And that was the thing I was going to say is because you're so trained to give people eye contact when you're talking to them, right? So even if you're looking them in the eyes on your screen, you're still not looking at the camera. And so it's this difficult thing where, simple example, now I'm looking at the camera and I'm having a conversation with Dustin, but I don't really feel like I'm having a conversation with Dustin because he's in my peripheral vision, not in my direct line of vision. Now, if I'm looking at him, it's a slight difference, but, to the person on the other end, it could seem like something big. Lindsay Diamond, one of my favorite people from Metro Mold and Design in Minnesota, is watching on LinkedIn, and she says, "I've always liked the handwritten packages, and do feel that they get opened because they're all unique. But currently, most, if not all, contacts are not in the office. There are struggles with getting in touch with anyone. Any ideas on this?"
Oof.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Lindsay, thank you for the very difficult question. Yeah, no, that is tough. Yeah, so you've used packages before, you've used handwritten things, and you're using the company address. This might be one of the things where, I'm not going to try to make something up on the spot. In a way, that really clever sales tactic, might be a casualty of the pandemic. It's really tough. Tony, while I give that some thought, do you have any ideas around that?
I think the key for me would be following up afterwards and asking, "Hey, did you get that?" Or if you have a good relationship with them, saying, for new companies, I think it could be difficult. But if you're trying to stay in touch with people that you're doing business with, you can always ask them what their home address is. You want to send them a Christmas card, a birthday card, something else, so that it doesn't get lost or taken by the gatekeeper, going, "Oh, they don't need another piece of junk mail." And I feel the same way. I talk to our staff here, and if it's just something that's junk mail, I really don't want it. But if it's something that is in a package or, they think came from Amazon or whatever, of course we're going to get it. And I think especially if it goes to their home. Now, again, that's only if you have a strong relationship with them. Right. You can't stalk these people and follow them home from work and ask them, and steal their address and then send that out. That's probably going to be a bad strategy. But I think handwritten letters are always good, and that might get passed on, even if the office staff or guard dog or whatever opens it and they see it's an actual handwritten letter. They may pass that on because it has some value there. If it's just a simple postcard, I would guess that is not going to go to the right person. I also think that when people need what you're offering, they will make time for it. And it's not a great answer for us on the end of the phone that's making that call, that they don't really have time or they seem like they're getting rushed through it. But again, it's not about what we want. It's not what I want. It's what man, that's loud. It's about what we want collectively. So I know myself personally, I've gotten phone calls from people asking if I'm interested in this IT service or whatever that is. And instead of just saying no, I always just say, "Can you send me an email?" And if I'm interested, I'll call you back. And sometimes they're overly pushy and I get really frustrated. And that tells me right there that I really don't want to work with them. I think you got to listen to the customer that's on the other end. And maybe that goes against other sales tactics of get an answer, get a yes, get a yes, get a yes. But for me, if somebody gave me the courtesy and said, listen, what you're saying is interesting, but I don't have time right now. Can you send me an email? I will say absolutely. And I'll send them an email. And now I have their email and I can follow up with them again on their terms when it's right for them. Because clearly right now it's not right for them. And if I'm overly pushy just to get my yes and schedule the next meeting, there's a good chance they're going to be frustrated with me before we even sit down and talk. And I'm taking away from what is really important to them right now, because I feel that what I have to say is more important than what they're going through or dealing with or having to do. And me personally, I don't like that approach, because I don't like when people do it to me and I don't want to do it to somebody else.
Lindsay, I thinking about it a little here. First of all, I think it's a great sales tactic. Snail mail is not it's not as thoroughly used in sales tactics these days, and so you've got a bit of a opportunity there. And I'm with you in that it's a bummer that you can't rely on it. But I think one way you might want to consider compensating for that, because I'm sure you don't know whether they're in their office at home. I would consider doing a follow-up email that is not just a, hey, did you get my package? I would use a crispy subject line, and that would pique their curiosity. Whatever is in there, I am expecting you are sending them something that they would be interested to see. You wouldn't be investing in sending them a package if it were, just a catalog that said, please buy, And so I would use, whatever is in that package to position an email that says something along the lines of, I think you're really going to appreciate this. Let me know
Right.
when you get it. Something along those lines. Maybe a voicemail, same tactic. And Tony brought up a really good point in that it's going to change depending on if that is a new person. It doesn't feel as high risk. Maybe go big and get a big reward of a callback or an agreement on a meeting. If it's a existing contact, if it's an existing account, keep that in context.
Yeah.
And Tony, I think that's nearly a stumper question. Deserves a prize. That was a good one.
Yeah, we'll definitely give Lindsay a prize. So we have 2 books. We have How to Win Friends and Influence People. And we also have a copy of How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. So Lindsay, tell us which one of those you would like, and we will get it out to you. John from Kaz Molds followed up from his question before, and he says, during these tough times, our creative marketing was to make a mask ear relief strap, include our website on it, and help others and market at the same time. We've given away over 8,000 to hospitals, nursing homes, businesses. No budget is financially limited. I use time to connect and care with and about our customers and answer questions and problems. So John, here's my question for you as the follow-up for that. It's awesome that you did that. It's awesome that you saw a need and filled a need and were dedicated to helping and doing that without pay, right? Because it was just what you thought the right thing to do was. Now's the self-serving part. Did you let anybody know besides here that you did that? Because people love these stories. They love hearing how you were able to impact and make a difference in the lives of other people. Any of those that you gave away, are they people that you could reach out to and say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're busy. Can you do a quick post about those ear savers that we did? Or you do them and say, listen, our Kaz Molds cares about the community. We want to make sure that our first responders are taken care of. And especially in this crazy time, we put together this care package and we sent it out. We just want to say thank you for all that you're doing for us and for those around us in this crazy time. If there's anything else we can do to help you, please let us know. Done. Because really you do care. If you didn't, you wouldn't put the effort into it. And I think it's a little bit self-serving, but you have to do it. If you don't pat yourself on the back or ask for that, those kudos, sometimes you don't get them. And we need those. We need to brag about ourselves a little bit and not be shy about it, because we have to tell people what we're doing. That's how we get more work.
Yeah, John, and I'm with Tony in that. That's awesome. It's really cool that you did that. Yeah, great idea.
And thank you for doing that. Thank you for caring enough to put that out there and help those people that are needing those things. I personally think that the plastic injection molding industry has not gotten enough credit for everything that we've done as an industry from March till now. And this is me giving kudos to the entire segment, from doing exactly what John did. You know, I know multiple companies that built molds from scratch just to do these ear savers because they were in need. Companies that shut down production to make PPE for hospitals and doctors and all the other things that were necessary. Going and developing and creating and making sure we had testing kits that were not even a thing. And in record time, they were created and put out there. And that's not to be a political thing, but you know, if you understand the industry, you know what goes into doing that, and the speed to which it got done is incredible. You know, just all the influx of hand sanitizer bottles that had to be made. There's so many different parts and components that go into that, and I think it's just underappreciated. So, you know, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everybody that put in the extra effort. When a lot of people were let go or unemployed, all of the mold makers and molders that I know were hiring more people, working extra hours, and coming up with new projects and products that, you know, that may have been pro bono. They just needed to get them out and get them out to people so that we can make a difference. So I have a lot of respect for everybody in this industry that put forth all that effort to make sure that in a crazy time, we were able to serve people and make a difference. So thank you guys. There you go. That's my plug for our industry. So here's a question that we get all the time. I don't like cold calls because I don't like objection. How do I handle objection better?
No, that's great. So, you know, there's two different kinds of objections. There's an objection to, you know, the conversation that that you're talking about, Tony. Just the will you even talk to me? And then there's the other objection we get all the time of, you know, towards the end of deals where it comes down to price or time. And they're a little different, and it's good to acknowledge that. Yeah, no, I would say that, you know, back to that keyword that I used earlier, you know, get creative. And more important than that, know your buyer, know their concerns. If you show up ready to talk with them about something that they would appreciate learning about more, if you're the expert on it, they're going to want a conversation. And, you know, I think we need to balance that persistence with the empathy and understand, okay, if they really don't have the time, that's okay. I have had multiple prospects who time was the only issue. And, you know, after 3 or 4 calls, 3 or 4 attempts, they literally said, thank you so much for being persistent with me. It's been crazy here, but I'm glad you called again. It's happened to multiple clients. So I'd say be persistent within reason, but more important than that, know your customer, know their needs, know the solution that you might, or the problem that they have and the solution that you might provide, but don't lead with it. You know, lead with curiosity. Why would a conversation with you be valuable to them? You might know, but they don't. So position in a way that, that would be worthwhile to them. That's my recommendation.
And I think when you're looking at objections, it's important to understand if it's a no or not right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why it's a no. You know, most people are not going to just say no if you have something that they need. it'll at least open up a conversation. So here's a good one for you. I just got a text from a friend of yours, actually, from Moody Bible Institute. Yeah.
Interesting.
AJ just sent me a
AJ
text and he
Kierman.
said, it's so crazy that you're talking to Dustin. He was, he's one of we were on the same dorm floor at
Floor mates.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, AJ. Wow. Look at that. Nope. Any questions? Any stumpers our way, AJ?
He didn't have any questions yet, but he says, feel free to bring up all the pranking that ran rampant.
Oh man, we're gonna leave that in the unwritten history books. We'll leave that.
But I think there's something to that, right? Again, going to the professionalism, everybody wants to be professional, but I think you also have to have your own personality, right? And you have to be authentic with who you are. For me, if I'm super professional and, people can see through it. Yeah. I mean, it's not who I am by nature. I want to have a good time with people. I want to talk with people. I want to engage with them. If I just jump straight into, I just can't do it. And I think that there's some room for that, right? Everybody wants to get along with and have fun with the person that they're talking to on the other end. They don't want it to always be so straight laced. Now, maybe I'm not saying I want that from my heart surgeon. I want my heart surgeon to give me the facts and be honest with me and be straight and be clear and concise. But I think in a lot of things with whatever we're selling, let your personality shine through. I think a lot of the, pranks, right? Pranks are not supposed to be mean-spirited. It's just some fun that you're having with people. I'm not saying prank your customers or potential customers, but allow yourself to be you and open up and be authentic with who you are. And that's what people are going to want to see.
Yeah, there's no other way to make a connection, right? You can't form a relationship as somebody else.
No. And it's the only benefit that you have, right? Because there's other people that do what you do, but there's nobody else that is you and can bring your same personality and character to what you're doing. So I think that's my takeaway with that.
I'll take it. AJ, glad you're joining. That's awesome. Great to hear from you.
Yeah, I think that also goes to show how small the world is, right? And when you're doing sales or whatever you're doing in your life, you have to be kind and considerate to everybody, and be mindful of your surroundings, whether you're at the grocery store, whether you're at work, whether you're, wherever you are, because there is no way I thought that AJ knew Dustin, but, that small connection is something that could be huge. And, Dustin's whole opinion of me could have been formed by something wrong that I did to AJ, or something that AJ perceived that I did something wrong. Not that I did anything wrong to AJ. I love AJ. But it's one of those things where all your actions have consequences or reactions.
Absolutely.
And you have to be mindful for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? We got more people on LinkedIn that are just watching silently, and that's no fun. You have to engage. You have to have fun with us. So question.
There's another question?
No, I said send us a question.
Send us a question. Yeah, no, we've got things to talk about, but we'd far rather talk about what you want to talk about than what we want to talk about. But in the meantime, Tony, I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about the kinds of virtual meetings that are standing out these days.
Sure. Yeah, please.
So we talked a little bit about virtual presence, right? And the reason why we talked about virtual presence is because we spend far too much time. I think we probably spend 95% of our time when we're getting ready for meetings working on the slide deck, right? Our marketing collateral. And the salespeople who really stand out are more concerned with how they show up. It's not to say that, marketing collateral and slides are not important. They're there to support you because people buy from people, right? So the thing that we're seeing really helps salespeople stand apart in the sea of humdrum, Zoom fatigue, meeting after meeting world that we're in these days, is rather than coming prepared to present, me to you, rather than, showing up and throwing up, they're there to run an engaging conversation, right? They're there to facilitate an experience. And, what does that look like? What goes into that? I think it's back to the philosophy we've already talked about. What's important to them? So I would expect a good salesperson before a sales meeting, they really know as much as they can about their client, not in a creepy way, but they've got a good idea of what the challenges might be without turning them into the kind of assumptions that will keep you from being curious.
Right.
And the goal is to be curious. What's really going on with your client? And a good way to find out, what they want to talk about is surprise. Ask them. So, it's kind of a no-brainer, a tool that every salesperson should be using, but you got to start with an agenda. It can be as simple as, we hope to talk about X and learn about X and see if there's a chance we can do business together. And the important question is this: is there anything else you would like to add?
Yep.
Right. That's their opportunity to say, actually, we noticed that you started creating this product, and we were hoping to learn more about that and how you're doing it, right? It could tell you, what their whole initiative is. But you start the meeting by recapping that agenda. Hey, we came here to talk about this and that. Has anything changed? Is there anything else you want to talk about? From the get-go, it's
Right.
not showing up and talking through what you want to talk about. It's inviting them in. Let's turn it into a conversation. And from there, there are ways that you can continue to engage them. I find that the most powerful tool is good questions, and we're not talking about the checklist questions. We do train on this, how to ask questions that'll elevate the conversation. And it's funny, we get people asking us, what are the 5 questions that I need to ask in order to, they're looking for the magic bullet, right? As if we can provide that. And so, what that often turns into is another checklist sort of thing.
Right.
I'm here to learn the things that I want to learn. But, at Dale Carnegie, we view questions as, they're beneficial in 2 ways. Not only do they help you learn, what you need to learn in order to, discover their pain, discover, how you might be able to help them and position it well, but it's also your opportunity to demonstrate who you are, to
Yep.
demonstrate your curiosity, to demonstrate how invested you are in this making a difference for them, what difference it can make for them. And that's what sets you up to be a trusted advisor, right? To be a trusted partner. So good questions are super important. And there's really 2 kinds of questions, 2 broad categories. There's horizontal questions. These are the kinds of questions, on that order form of, how many do you need? When do you need it by? What's, the price that you're hoping to, land on? Those sorts of questions, right? And we need those. But the real magic happens when you start to master the art of the follow-up question.
Yeah.
We call these vertical questions. So, okay, I get it. We asked about timeline. Timeline is really important. Without stating the obvious, why is that crucial? That's your opportunity to find out they're switching vendors because their last vendor couldn't keep up with deadlines.
Right.
Right. And that's your opportunity to position. Well, it's great that you say that later on, right? Not right there in the moment, but that's your opportunity to learn what their pain was, right? So we have to ask, there's always another level of question. Wow. So, your last vendor never met deadlines. How did that impact the business? Yeah. Well, it made your people crazy, right? So now it's affecting the morale of the business, right? So good questions are key. Horizontal and vertical questions. Another tool that we often use in virtual meetings, especially when you're selling to teams, say, maybe you've got a buyer, but you've also got the president or a facility manager too, all in the call. It's that big of an initiative. A great way to engage them is with a technique that we call floodlight spotlight. So you might ask a question like, we hear in the industry right now, there's a lot of supply chain issues that are causing problems. Are you dealing with that? It's on its face. It's not a great question. It's pretty surface level, but you can follow it up with something along with this. If that's something you're dealing with, give me a green check. Use the tools on your platform. Zoom often has these teams. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a raised hand if you've seen that be an issue. And if you see those pop up, you can say, Scott, I see that, this has been an issue for you. Would you mind expanding on what kind of issues that's caused?
Right.
That's your opportunity. And that's super crucial, because in those conversations, we might have someone who's very pivotal to making the purchase decision, but they might just be there to sit back, right? And listen. But our goal, like I said at the start here, is we want to facilitate an experience, right? That is the kind of meeting that is going to break through the noise of Zoom fatigue and all that.
And I think it's giving people permission to share and give their input as well. When you're asking them specifically, like, how is this affecting you? What's happening with this? What would make your life easier? All those kinds of questions. It's allowing them to expound on what they need instead of just a yes or no question. I'm a big fan of Chris Voss. I'm sure you know Chris Voss.
Oh, love Chris Voss.
If you guys are not familiar with Chris Voss, you should look up Chris Voss and some of the strategies he has. And, I think what I really liked was taking some of the Chris Voss stuff and the Dale Carnegie stuff and merging that together. And I think that's how that works, right? Everything you come into contact with or experience can be used as a tool in your toolbox, in your arsenal of how to have conversations with people. And, asking the right questions is one of the things that Chris Voss talks about all the time. And that right question is just listening to what that person says. And sometimes it's just repeating back what they said with a little bit of an uptick in your voice so that they know it's a question. Instead of saying what, you would say, having problems with your supply chain? And then letting them expound on what they're talking about instead of just going, what? I don't understand. It's a different part of the conversation. So I'm going to jump to a couple questions real quick.
Yeah.
Greg Osborne, one of my good friends. He's also part of the Society of Plastics Engineers Mold Technology Division with me. Wow. And his question works out very nicely with that. He says, how important is social networking through trade associations when dealing with tough business situations?
Repeat that one more time, Tony.
Yeah. How important is social networking through trade associations when dealing with tough business situations?
Yeah, well, I would say, the number one thing it comes back to is credibility.
Yeah.
Right? People buy from people they trust. And those who and you're doing a lot of work with, or even just associated with, can really help, boost your credibility, right?
Yeah. And I think, what I've found is, again, with knowing Scott Peters, it's not only boosting your credibility, but creating a network of people that are going to have your back and help you to get better and instruct you along the way, mentors that you're building. I think it does boost your credibility, but it also, every person that you come in contact with, you can learn from and gain knowledge from. I'm part of the SPE Mold Technologies division. I am the chair of that division. And it's really exciting to be able to work with the people that I'm working with. It's opened up opportunities for me to meet people at companies larger than I could possibly reach, in a way where they know who I am now. It's not a cold call. I can reach out to them because we serve on the same board or we're part of the same organization. And I think a lot of people are waiting for, like we keep saying, that magic bullet of answers on, how do I get in touch with this person? Well, are you engaging? Are you involved in your organizations? Are you part of the TMA, the AMBA? Are you part of MAP? Are you part of the SPE? Are you putting yourself out there, or are you locked in your office and hoping that people find you by luck? luck is not really a strategy. Luck is good to have on your side, but it's not really a strategy. So, I'm a big firm believer in putting yourself out there as much as possible and engaging with people and, increasing your odds for success. Richard Evans from Reaction Plastics says, any suggestions when asking a current client or colleague to help you get your foot in the door with another company? Is there a preferred etiquette to follow? I love this question because it's what we learned at Dale Carnegie is your sale is not complete until you ask that question. Is there anybody else that you can think of that might benefit from what we offer? And it's key. Your customer, the person you're talking to, is not the only person that needs what you need. And there's a chance that they're part of organizations and know people that, yeah, they absolutely need what you do. And as long as I would say the caveat is, as long as you do a good job and you deliver and they can trust you, then ask if there's anybody else that they can refer you to. But if you've never had a conversation with them before in the past and they don't know who you are, don't ask them to put their reputation on the line for you.
Tony, you said it. What was the name of the question asker?
Richard Evans.
Richard. Yeah, I think Tony did a really good job addressing that. And I just want to stress something he said where, hopefully it's been a good relationship with them. And, back to, the beginning of our time here, one of the things that I talked about is you can use unlikely circumstances to build trust and credibility. And one of those is, if they're not happy with the relationship, own that and explore how to do better. Yeah. And I still think that you can recover from that and ask for a referral in those circumstances, because again, it demonstrates your willingness to serve their needs, not yours.
And we don't know if we did anything wrong if we don't ask, right? And then on the other side of that, if somebody asks you, be honest with them. And I compare it, or I've heard it compared to, you go out to eat and you're having dinner and you're complaining about the food a little bit. Maybe it's not as good as you think it is. And the waitress comes over and goes, how is everything today? And everybody looks up at the same time and goes, it's really good. And you don't mean it. And it's not doing anybody any favors. I would say be honest with people and let them know what you actually need and expect from them in the services that they're providing. And to go along with that, if somebody tells you, if you ask, what can we do better for you? We maybe didn't have an opportunity to do much work together this year. Is there something that we were missing? Is there something that we could have done better? How can we get better for you? If they give you feedback, even if you don't think it's true, take it seriously, because if they're telling you that, there's a good chance that other customers feel the exact same way. They're just telling you that the steak is fine and it's good and not being honest with you.
Yeah. And it was Richard, right? Yes. Richard. Yeah. So, and to get back to, there was some more, I think we talked about, the conditions you hope are right for when you ask for a referral.
Yep.
The actual particulars of doing it, is, I would say, start by being confident. If you know that it's been a good experience doing business with you, then assume that they're going to be happy to introduce you to other people. It's often us who gets in our way, we get in our own way, right? Of asking for that referral, which is why it's, part of our sales model of, you're not done doing business until you're asking for, hey, who else can you introduce us to? Not in a slimy, businessy, salesy sort of way. You've built the relationship. You've earned the right.
Right. And you've done a good job. I think salespeople get a bad rap as exactly what you said, right? Like that slimy, swarmy salesperson that nobody wants to deal with. But I think at the heart of it, and Zig Ziglar talks about it too, how salespeople are just like the conduit between getting two people what they need and want at the best way possible. We're facilitators. That's what we're doing. You need this cup. I have this cup. How can I give you this cup? Just trying to fill those needs. Aaron Bullock, another friend of ours from church, who I believe is still looking for work. So if anybody's listening to this and they're looking for a good quality person to hire, you should look Aaron up on LinkedIn and get in touch with him. But he says, I heard it put this way once: all things being equal, people will buy from someone they know, like, and trust. It works towards being trustworthy, likable, and known.
Someone hire him.
Yeah, right. And I like that, right? And it's true. When you feel like you know somebody and they're your friend, you want to see them succeed and help them out. The other one that I've heard that I really like and we've been using quite a bit is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, you have to let people know that you care about what they need and you want to see them succeed. Greg Osborne also asked, can developing those relationships outside of work help ease difficult business situations? Yes. I mean, I've found that the best business relationships I have are also some of the best friendships that I have. And they kind of bleed into each other, where if you can sit down and break bread with somebody and have a drink and have some dinner and understand who they are, and you go to the trade shows and you're not just doing 9 to 5 and going home and going back to the hotel, but you're actually building a relationship with people, then when something difficult comes up, it's not so bad because they know you as a human and as a person, and you can relate on those kinds of levels, not just the business side of things. Dustin, thoughts?
Ditto. Yeah, no, I think that, the line blends. And like Tony said before, if you're a super, buttoned up professional type and that's not your style, then don't try to get, don't ask someone for, drinks, especially during COVID. You want to be comfortable when you show up for that. But absolutely, I'm thinking of, one of my favorite clients who, it was just texting back and forth. They do snow removal and landscaping, and we weren't able to do business together last year because of there was so little snow. And so of course, my first thing is, hey, it's snowing a lot this year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. He's a friend now, right? He's a friend.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't use that same kind of conversing otherwise.
Here's an example, right? Larry Patton, one of my favorite people. He's like a gentle, stone cold Steve Austin. And he rode his motorcycle all the way out here for our golf outing last year. And, every time I see the guy, he's happy. We were playing volleyball at 11:30 at night after our golf outing. It's a great time. And, just going to showing like your personality and having fun with things. He says, hey, he's on Facebook. He says, I just hopped on, so I'm not up to speed. But as a question, I was wondering, who's your favorite Nebraska tool shop? That is easy. It's Dramco. I mean, without question, Dramco is my favorite company in Nebraska, not just tool shop, company. And I think Larry is my favorite person in Nebraska. And I value everything Larry brings to my life, and the fact that he's a customer. Larry, we need more work and manifold work. So please send that to me. Scott Peters says, for me, the best was when customers moved into becoming friends. Absolutely. You go on vacation with them. You can do things. You have things to talk about other than work. Scott Peters, what about Ohio? You're right up there. I mean, you're more of a mentor. I haven't gotten the work yet, but I love you just based on how tall and big you are.
I see being careful there. All your other clients in Ohio, I'm sure, Tony.
I don't think I have that many in Ohio. Okay. It's okay. But it's fun. And I apologize for not answering those questions before on Facebook, but for some reason it wasn't scrolling and I didn't see them. Scott, one of the other things he said when we were talking about asking the right questions and we were talking about the hamburger, he says, better yet, ask the question, why are you hungry? And what can I do to fill that need? Not just are you hungry, but why? So you're addressing two different things there at the same time. And that's a burger, right? If you're talking about tooling for us, right? If right now I know there's a some of the molders are struggling because there's a lack of supply from plastic providers. And, that's an easy question for those plastic providers to say, why is your production down? And what can I do to help? Well, if they can't get supplies, now they know what's holding them back and what their limitations are. I think the other thing is always being a facilitator of not just your product, but of other things. So having knowledge about all different types of situations and industries, and keeping your eyes and ears open for other things. So when Scott Peters calls me and says, I'm looking for a molder that has open machine time. Do you know anybody? Well, now I know, and I can reach out to my network of people, not trying to get anything for myself, but just saying, hey, I just need to know what your workload is like. I've got a customer here that is trying to get some parts done, and they're looking for a reputable company. And being somebody that can pass on that information to someone else without trying to get anything back for it, but just keeping the flow of work going and knowing that you can be a resource for all things. Hey, you've got a nice house. Who does your carpentry? Oh, let me give you the guy's name. And just being that fountain of information. I think my father was always that. He had a person for everything, whether it was jewelry, whether it was yard work, whether it was molders, mold makers, cars, you name it. He has created himself a Rolodex of the who's who of different industries. So whatever somebody needs, he can be the person that can serve and answer the bell with that need. And it's a strategy that I've tried to pick up from him. And it just goes to networking and building those relationships. Relationships is key in so many things. In all things, dare I say.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty important just in and of themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Larry, you did open a can of worms, so thank you. So we've been on for quite some time. Aaron says, got to run. Thanks for the topics covered, thoughts and discussed. Have a great day. Richard Evans also said, great feedback. Thanks, guys. Dustin, down the line, I would love to do this again. And maybe we can push it out and promote it even more. And if you guys liked it and you want to hear more from Dustin, let us know. I think all of these strategies are really, really important, and not just in sales and trying to sell your knickknack or service or whatever, but a lot of it just has to do with life and how to treat people and how to build those relationships. The first book we talked about, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is not really a sales book. It's a life book.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what sales is just being a person with other people. So we are going to wrap up soon. If you are still here, we got people on LinkedIn, people on Facebook, people on YouTube. If you're there, we like to close all of our shows with a prayer. So if you have any prayer requests that you would like to share, put it in the chat, and we will definitely add that into what we have to say. Dustin, where can people register for Dale Carnegie?
Yeah.
What kind of classes do you guys have going on right now? And how can they get in touch with you and make sure that they can get the steps necessary to do what they want to do?
Yeah, no, thanks, Tony. I'm going to start in the same way that, we recommend people, salespeople do, is, offer your value to start. So, I'm sure maybe you're dealing with some of the challenges that we addressed today. And, you're curious. Maybe you're not sure, how Dale Carnegie could work with you. And so I'd love to even just facilitate a sales assessment with you, free of charge. Examine, what are you doing well that works? What do you feel confident in? How do we improve upon that to make it that much more effective? Where are the areas you're struggling? How can we work on those? And how much difference could it make if you improved in those areas? Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Name is Dustin Brewer. Would love to set that up with you. If you want to, check out programs in the schedule, we are doing in-person programs. We are doing virtual programs. You can check out our website, dalecarnegie.com. And also we work privately with teams. So if you'd like to find out about the work we're doing with sales teams, whether that's adapting to, selling in a virtual environment, or just, getting back to doing the basics well, we'd love to talk about that with you. So again, comment on this, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. My email is also Dustin, Dustin Brewer, Brewer at dalecarnegie.com. And I'd love to have a conversation.
And like I said before, I will speak firsthand that, all of the things that we learned were excellent. I have nothing negative to say about the Dale Carnegie experience, from Dustin working with us when we had limitations and issues with staffing, when we went from in person to virtual, when we had to have some people cancel and carry that over. They have been nothing but accommodating and helping us to do the things that we want to do. And again, it speaks volumes to who they are as an organization, because when you're the biggest and the most well-known, you don't really have to cater to everybody unless it's what you really want to do and who you are as a company. So I would encourage anybody, and I don't get any money from this. There's no coupon code. There's nothing that I'm going to benefit. I just really, really, truly believe in this program. And I think other people should take advantage of it as well.
Tony, thanks for saying that. And I will say that if you mention the Manufacturing Alliance podcast, we'll be glad to give you a little promotion there.
Hey, look at that. So now even more reason to call Dustin and Dale Carnegie, but in seriousness, it's worth the money. I will tell you that it is not cheap, but you get what you pay for. And if you're really serious about improving your skills and getting the tactics and the tips and the strategies to be better at not only sales, but communication and understanding people as a whole, I would highly recommend what they have to offer. We've got some exciting shows coming up. We're doing them every Wednesday now. And we're booked for the next 2 months or so. So next Wednesday, Brenda from Hasco is going to be joining us. A lot of people probably know who she is. After that, we're going to have Tina Zwolinski on. That's going to be exciting. In fairness, I've never talked to her, and I can't wait to. It's going to be a good conversation, and all of that is going to be showing up on LinkedIn as more advertisement comes in. Michael Gukas from Gardner Business Media will be on March 17th. And we have David Masato coming in from, he's also part of our SPE board and helps with the plastics and all of that. And my friend Mercedes is going to be joining us the end of March. Something cool that Mercedes is doing that other people are not is she's actually explaining what manufacturing is to people in a fun way. So she started, you can see those if you follow her on Instagram, and it's pretty much WTF manufacturing. And she explains things in a way that actually makes sense to people, because I don't think people get what we do as a whole. They think manufacturing is this dirty, bad word that they don't want their kids to do, because they think they should all go to college, even though people are not all people are fit to go to college. And some people need to work with their hands and want to work with their hands and want to be working in different ways. And Mercedes breaks down very nicely the different aspects of manufacturing, whether it's blow molding or plastic injection or whatever it is. And she does it with flair, which is awesome. So I don't see any prayer requests in here. Dustin, do you have any?
Oh man, nothing right off the gate, but I would say at the least sympathy for those, struggling through COVID, losing family members, and, prayer for health and safety throughout the rest of this time period.
Yeah, I would second that. So I am going to, I think I've taken up enough of your time. You're very kind and courteous with it.
It's been a blast, Tony.
But I'm going to pray for us real quick, and then we'll get out of here. So Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for this platform and this opportunity to talk with Dustin and talk with everybody else that's listening. I pray that you would bless their lives in ways that they don't even understand, and that you would help us to remember that even the struggles that we're going through are opportunities for learning and growth. And you give them to us for a reason, not just to make our lives harder, but to make us better and stronger and to rely on you. So we just pray for all the people that are out of work or trying to find that next thing, trying to figure out where they go from here, what their next steps are. We pray for our country, our leaders, and all the people listening. And yeah, we just love you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Dustin, thank you, my friend, for being part of the show, for all that you do for me and the encouragement that you brought me and everything else. I think your organization is great. And I can't wait to be part of the live seminar when you guys have it. So I would love to do this again with you on a different platform and even have you on as a panel with some other people and see what we can do. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tony.
I appreciate it. All right. Have a good day, bud.
Take care.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Sorry that the camera got all blurry there for a second. I'm not sure why, but I just want to thank you for listening and watching the Manufacturing Alliance Chat and Chow. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and have your questions come in and be able to answer those and talk with the guests that we have. I think there's a lot of confusion in the world right now, and if we can be even a small glimmer of hope and optimism and make you laugh a little bit, then it's all worth it. If you like the show and you got some value out of it and you think you know somebody else that would enjoy it, please share it with them and let them know. Put some comments in, even if it's after the show, and we go back and look at those and watch them, and we'll get back to you if we can. So for myself and on behalf of Dustin and the whole Alliance team, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.